So what would you and the angelic share about what are some of the very clear steps of practicing or trying out free will and sovereignty? How can we do that? You mentioned the chocolate bar, which is fabulous. What are some of these ways that we can practice our free will and our sovereignty?
Yeah, Raphael would like to come through with a message. That's all right. So this is Angel Raphael. So yes, on a day-to-day basis, know that in your own life, these choices are not small. So each time that you question, is that my thought? It's like that's being magnified like a ripple in a pond over the entire universe here of human understanding. So other people wake up to, wait a minute, is that even my thought? Because it's different, when you're not aware and you're so invested in believing that every thought that's in your consciousness is your own, then you're used to being the manager of your universe, and so you follow that. But when you're aware that sometimes it's not your own and you begin to experiment with discerning, those are the practical steps. It's very, very practical. So, for example, you read something in the newspaper, see it on television, and something doesn't feel quite right, but who do you ask, right? Are you going to call the president? Is there some expert or some galactic being who really knows the truth, the quote unquote truth about this? And how do I know whether or not to feel afraid or, run into my room or run out and revolt that we shouldn't be hidden in our rooms? Something doesn't feel right though. So honor that, start with that piece, and very, very simply. So many of you have other gifts, but let's say that you don't believe that of yourself right now. So you're dealing with the five senses. What can I perceive? Are there zombies? We always say this jokingly, like, is it the zombie apocalypse? Let me look out my window. Are there corpses? Are my neighbors dropping dead right now? No? Okay, well, that's what I can perceive right now. My neighbors seem to be walking around fine, keeping our distance, but I see them. They're still alive. I'm still alive. I feel pretty good. It's sunny today. So really, really on a simple level, what are you experiencing? And does it match what you're being told? And if it doesn't, trust yourself more than what you're being told. So again, it's not important that you understand the science of the virus, which beings are in control of all this, who's trying to whisper in your ear, but the fact that you start to discern what is truth for me. And I am sovereign over my own experience. So in my world right now, I feel grumpy. Okay, what might be the reasons for that? Or in my world right now, I'm reading a great book. I don't really feel like watching television that wants to tell me I'm afraid. I'm not. I'm just not afraid today. Great, turn it off. So it can be, of course, very esoteric, very mystical. There are many, many layers to this, like anything. But start simply with the tools that are in your own perception, those that you already trust. So many of you are coming into new tools right now, but those you might not feel like leaning on just now, you might not trust them yet. So experiment, enjoy those new tools. At the same time, stay with what is very practical, what you do know and trust. What is your mental state? Is it different? Is it off somehow today? And could it be that that's coming from some sort of subterranean infiltration of your consciousness? Does it feel like that? Does it feel like someone or something's in my head? And honor that you know that. You know that. You can just ask yourself that question. Is this my thought? Oh, it's not? Okay, well, I don't want to have you then. So you can be cheeky with this. It's not so much of a battle time. In the past, again, the mind remembers this, and in so many of your beautiful, blessed lifetimes of struggle, you remember this. If this was occurring 20 years ago, or in another lifetime, or in another plane of existence, this would be war. This would be battle. This would be time for you to get out the machete, the machine gun, the spear, whatever your weapons are, your psychic powers, and do battle against these forces. But that's not the time we're in. It's not the time humanity is in. This is the time of freedom. So generally, we like to use this metaphor again and again of a prison that you have been in. Humanity has been in a prison. And now the door is wide open, but you're still sitting in the prison cell. So do you choose to stay there because it's comfortable and familiar? And we understand, dears, we understand it feels quite terrifying to walk through that open door because none of your ancestors have ever been there. So how do you know what's there? You've never been free. So we understand. We judge you not for staying where you are. At the same time, no, the paradigm is not of battle. There's no guard there. There's no boogeyman of any galactic race waiting to kill you if you try to step through that door. It is, in fact, quite powerless. Those beings that are trying to control you, it is like the Oz, for those of you who know that movie or book, you know, with the bullhorn behind the curtain saying, be afraid, be very, very afraid. That's not what you should be afraid of. What you should be afraid of is staying asleep, staying in prison just because you don't realize the door is open. So the more that you can make those choices of free will, even if you're not ready to step out of the prison yet, choose what meal you want for lunch or make free will choices. It's so essential for your beingness. And as Elizabeth had said, for those ancestors who come later after you, make free will choices because this is the time for humanity to stand up. And it's just about choices. It's not about battle. The battle has been won. And you were one of those warriors that helped to win the battle. And that's some of the confusion here, because you have been battle ready for your entire existence as humans. Let's see, at least by the end of the first generation of humanity, you were battle ready because that's what was served to you. So you adapted, you became ready for battle. But there's no one to fight now. Those forces are quite powerless. And it's only this habit of the mind that wants to keep you in the old pattern, because that's what the mind does. And the mind, as Elizabeth has said, is so beautiful in that. Isn't it helpful that when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to wonder, what is this thing, you know, this chair in front of me, or what am I? What is my role in my family? The mind does a beautiful job of remembering patterns. So here is where you get to struggle a little bit with the mind and say, thank you so much. And also, back off right now. I'm making some free will choices and they don't have anything to do with what my ancestors experienced in the past.
That means so much to me, to hear that the door is open and that the battle is over, because that part of me, the warrior part, it wants the battle to keep going. I had this funny vision at one point. I can see the time of freedom and sovereignty and rebuilding is upon us. And my warrior self, in Egypt, she had these two swords. And she's standing around like poking at stuff with her sword. Because she's bored. She doesn't have anybody to fight anymore. And for like a month, it was like this. And I'm like, all right, what are you doing? Do you need a new job? Because you're waiting for battle that's not going to happen anymore. And yeah, to take that part of ourselves, the warrior parts of ourselves that have been so well honed and trained for millennia about how to do this battle, to give them a different job,